oh,
Yeah.
you understand a part of me that is so specific.
Respectfully, the idea that this baby doesn't like people with short hair is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Does it
Yeah.
even count if I had to like ask you to say something nice about me?
There's just going to be times where no, your partner's not able to meet your needs. Whoa, Noodles, welcome back. We're not for everyone, and neither are you. This is a podcast hosted by me, a hater, and Jessica, a lover. And this is where we make out once a week, every Thursday, and everybody has to watch or
Can't
listen.
wait. Can't wait
I
to make out
know.
with you, Noodle. It really got me when you called
Uh,
us all noodles. That was like,
yeah.
that was a
Does that
fun one.
resonate?
Yeah, it did. It really did in this moment
Mm-hmm.
as lie here lifeless, ready to hear you tell
Lifeless.
me things, ready to
I
make out with
love,
you.
I love seeing you lifeless, ready to make out with me. I want to see
Take
you low on
advantage.
life. Oh yeah.
Oh, this is the time. This is the time of year when I am so low on life. So you're catching me ripe for the picking.
I'm gonna pick the hell out of you. I'm
Are we
I'm not in bed
flirting?
today. We are flirting really clumsily. I'm gonna pick
Weirdly.
the hell out of you. Really lost my game. I don't have any more game anymore.
I don't either. It's really hard because friends will ask me to help them with like writing a flirty text or just like how do I respond to this guy? And I used to be such a pro. Like when I was single and dating, I was awkward at the beginning and then I got into like a flow state where I feel like I was so good at the texting banter and I don't have it
Mm,
anymore. I really don't have it anymore. And people come to me and
no.
I fail them repeatedly.
So you're still trying and then it fails, or do you just try and like turn them down?
I try, but I have to get into a very specific headspace that like I don't like myself in that headspace.
Too horny or like
A little
predatory?
too horny, a little too, yeah, like talking about picking whatever we just said, like
Whatever we
that.
just did. I know. I don't want to think about it again.
Yeah.
I was never good, I don't think, at flirty texts. All of my flirts are just like being dumb, and I feel like it's all in my cadence or like delivery, and I don't think it works on paper. And like literally I'll write a text, even to this day, I will write a text to Justin, and in my head, I mean, Justin can basically like hear my tone at this point,
Yeah.
but sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, that's so dumb. And then I have to sit there and weigh, like, do I want to, send this text and 50% chance it's going to be read dumb, 50% chance maybe it's going to be sexy. And I'm like, the odds aren't that good. And so I just write something boring instead.
I get it. I mean, I'm really bad at sexting. So if we're talking more on the sexy side of things, that's where my capabilities have always ended. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know how to sext without being funny. And then so much of then, first of all, you like lose the sexiness, and also the delivery doesn't really work in a written format. So
Yeah.
I'm good at like the flirty banter, but as soon as it becomes too much about compliments or physical appearance or
Oh,
like
your
sexy
toes are
those
so big. Those are the biggest
right.
toes I've
the
ever
biggest
licked.
the biggest toe bulbs.
Wow, has the end of your toe always been that square? That kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah, you get it. You get it.
I
Tell
have
me
been
things.
flirting. I've sort of been flirting um
With someone else.
with someone else other than you. It's not really a flirt, but I am in a sexual competition with someone.
What?
Yeah, so there's this man. So Justin and I were
What?
at the
I
hold
didn't
on, no,
expect it to be
hold
a
on.
man.
It is a
Everything is
man.
confusing.
No, you have to hold on, stay with me, stay with me. So Justin and I were at the gym. This was like months ago, and he pointed out this guy that and he was like, "Oh, that gay is a gay man." And he was like, that guy is like always eye fondling me, like he has a big crush on me. I can tell, whatever. You can just tell when someone has a crush on you. He was
Sure.
like, "Yeah, this guy at the gym, like he's definitely one of my long time, not his crushes, but has a crush on Justin and is trying to talk him up." Or I can't remember what the interactions were, but Justin was like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy has a big crush on me." And I'll say some of those gay boys love Justin. They just want to eat him up. They just want to cover him in Nutella and eat him up. And I can't blame him. But ever since Justin pointed out this guy and we go to the same gym, Justin and I, so I see this guy at the gym all the time, and just knowing, I feel like I'm trying to now impress this gay man. And every time he looks at me, like Justin and I are there all together, he definitely knows that I'm Justin's girlfriend by now. And anytime he like witnesses me, I just imagine him judging me and just thinking like, she's too ugly for him, or like, she doesn't even have that good a body, or like, her butt's not even as good as mine, or like, I just feel like he's judging me and why I shouldn't be with Justin and this man should be. And so whenever this guy is there, I'm like trying to look hot for this gay man who wants to be my boyfriend so that I can justify being with Justin. And I don't know. I just realized this the other day that I like try to like walk hot around this
Yeah.
gay man who would literally kill me and walk over my body to get to my boyfriend. I don't know
Can
how
I
to get
just say
this.
that that is one of the most beautiful things that I miss about like in-person interaction with random people that you don't know? Do you know what
What
I mean?
part? What
Like,
part?
if you go in person to the same place over and over again, like a gym or an office building or wherever else, you have the opportunity to have those types of interactions where, like, you've never even talked to him,
We've never
but there's a
spoken.
whole story. And you think
Yeah.
about it and you change your demeanor because of it. And you're talking about it to me now. And like, it's a plot line.
Yeah.
And you don't get to have that when you work from home and you know
Yeah.
everybody, you go to the same gym and you know everybody there because it's like a small community gym. And like basically, I'm jealous of this. I'm
Oh,
jealous of of you making the gay man jealous. Yeah, it sounds really fun. It sounds
it's
like that.
fun.
That's like the joie de vivre, you know?
That's the Blush Water Reef. Yeah. These are like the little everyday soap operas that,
Yeah.
first of all, I don't know. I don't even know how much of this is true. Like the other day, I was like, what if he's not gay? Like, what if we like,
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
how explicitly Justin confirmed that. Maybe this was just a dude who wants nothing to do with either.
Like, never looked at you once. He's never noticed you.
Noticed me. And one day I'm just gonna confront him and I'll be like, I know you would beat me dead to fuck my boyfriend. And he's like, hello?
Yeah, it's
Yeah. I don't know,
perfect.
but it's such a fun. I love these soap operas that get to live out in your head.
Exactly. It's the most fun. I feel like I used to have a lot of them when I worked in an office, and you just would like pass
Totally.
somebody over and over and be like, there's kind of a vibe there. Or when you're on a plane, when you're on a plane and there's like the one hot guy and you're like, he's looking at me because we're
I
like the
guess I'll
only
walk to
two
the
people
bathroom
under
eight
30.
times this flight. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. That stuff is the reason that people need to stay going outside and seeing each other and walking by each other.
Yeah.
We need pedestrians. We need
We need,
bystanders.
we are
We need,
pro
oh, what was the
pedestrians.
word? People loved that you brought up that video gaming word a few episodes ago. What was it?
NPCs. NPCs.
NPCs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. One of those
I'm
NPCs is
laughing.
trying to fuck my boy.
I'm laughing at the silence because you were like, I think I have something to start the episode, and like it could just send us on a whole long combo. And then we had a silent
We had
moment, and I was
silence.
like, shoot, I
Shoot,
that's all I
dude.
got for you on that one.
I
Was
know.
that the topic?
That actually wasn't the topic.
Oh, perfect.
That one just came up naturally. What my big idea that I was gonna open the episode with. All right, let me paint a picture for you.
Okay.
I was laying in bed
Oh my
the
God,
other
we're
night.
flirting again.
Oh my God, I can't stop. I'm hungry for a little bit of massacre. I was laying in bed the other night and I was so cold. I was so
Oy.
cold. I was so chilly because it's winter. Also, the heat in my house stopped working, and it is no, none of the heat works. That's why I'm not in bed right now because there's no heat in my home. There hasn't been heat for 4 days. It's 20 degrees in DC, and my apartment is only 30 degrees warmer than that. And
Oh my God. So we're having a similar issue, but it's almost worse because the heat is working. The furnace is working.
oh
It's
no.
just 2 degrees in Chicago, so
Wow.
it can't possibly bring a part of our house higher than like 55.
So there's
It's
nothing to be done
terrible.
about it. Oh my
There's
God.
nothing, and we're still paying for that
That's
heater
awesome.
that's doing its goddamn best.
So do you just
Yeah,
not go into
so
those rooms?
we got space heaters, we bundle up,
Wow, you're
and
paying for fucking
oh my God,
normal
our
heat
gas
and you had to
bill
get a space
is
heater?
it has been insane for the last 2 months. And like our place, this is not interesting content, but like our place is a 2 level. And so the lower level has really high ceilings, is further from the furnace, and it's the lower level.
Mm.
So it, because heat rises. So like it just does not heat. It's always a little bit colder down there than it is on the upper level. In order to get it warm at all, we have to like blast our furnace. So it's really hot upstairs,
And then
and
so
then
dry.
and it's so dry, and then
Yeah,
it's really cold down there just to make it like 60, like even a little bit bearable for when we
very
need to like cook
upsetting.
our meals. And it's like $250 a month.
That's
It's
so dope.
it's ending me. It's like, actually, this is the end. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm sorry to interject my personal conundrum
No.
into your story, but this is actually all I've been
Yeah.
thinking about and dealing with for the past few weeks. So it's relevant. It's very relevant. I'm sorry your
It
heater's broken. I
does.
really
That's
relate.
okay. Yeah. I'm sitting next to the fire because that's the only thing that's
That's
heating my home.
beautiful.
Yeah, I'm getting to kind of cosplay like I'm a peasant.
You're like cooking your meals over the fire.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not cooking meals, but
A little
um
porridge.
I'm
Yeah.
eating my
It
chocolate chips by the fire. Um I don't know what my point is. Yeah, it's just cold in
was
here.
cold.
I was cold. I was cold the other night. And is this a good story?
It's really good so far.
And
This is the big idea.
I hate sheets. I hate sheets. They're just kookamamie. I feel like I'm never in control of them. I need my sheets to be symmetrically touching my body. And that's just like
Hmm.
it's a lot of chaos, which is why I just like to sleep with a comforter. I have greater control over that, I feel like.
We do that too. I get it. We don't sleep with
But
the top sheet. Yeah.
yeah, but Justin's always bringing sheets into the equation. So when I was cold at
Ugh.
his place, I was cold under the comforter. And then I was like, all right, I'll pull this sheet up. And I pulled this sheet up, and then I was warm. And
Mm,
then I was like, sheet technology is crazy.
yeah.
What?
It, because
That
it's
thing's not even
thin.
a blanket. It's not even a blanket.
It's
And
pretty
that was
thin.
the difference. This fucking tissue was the difference between me being completely cold and completely warm.
So you had the comforter over you,
I
and then
had the
you brought
comforter
the
over
sheet
me.
with the comforter, and that
And
made
that
all
was
the
the
difference.
difference. That was the difference.
Wow.
One single Kleenex of a sheet
You
was the
know,
difference
I have
between me
been
being cold and
thinking about
warm.
this. I have
What
been
the fuck is
considering, should we
that?
bring our top sheet back into the equation because of this coldness that we're currently experiencing? And
I
maybe
guess.
maybe I needed to have this conversation with you to finally get a good night's sleep tonight.
Okay, so you're cold at sleep time?
We're cold all the time, man. We're cold, we're cold all the time. It's really bad. It's really
So
bad over here.
cold.
I'm I'm losing it. I'm losing it. Do you
Yeah.
said you have a big idea. Do you have like a technological solution that you're
A
going to
big idea.
introduce?
Did I say
You
I had a
started
big
this by
idea?
saying I got a big idea.
No, no, no. My big idea was just that sheet technology is crazy.
Oh, just as is. Like the
Just
idea is the
as it
existing.
was just an observation.
Do you think it has something to do with like how tightly stitched the sheets are, like the thread count and the lack of porousness?
Could
Does that mean
be.
anything to you?
You're the doctor. I don't know. I was
Thank you.
thinking the only thing I could think was that like this sheet is like wrapping itself around my contours more specifically than a comforter is.
Yeah,
You know what
which
I mean?
you
Like there's less air
yes.
pockets around me.
And usually I don't like that. Like I prefer sheets
Yeah.
because I understand the symmetry you're talking about. I
Yeah.
almost said symmetry, and I hate when people say symmetry
You
instead
did
of
say symmetry. Why do
symmetry.
people do that? It's not a
They do that,
cemetery.
and I don't do that, and I want that to be clear that that was
There's
just it's the cold talking. Um
no
yeah,
circulation going to your head.
I prefer a sheet that kind of like floats flat over my body rather than contouring to the edges of my body. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, I
Which
do
is the
know.
reason that we went to just the
A
comforter.
a comforter.
But for the cold, okay. Okay, is this interesting? Because I'm having
No, it's not.
breakthroughs. I'm
No,
definitely having breakthroughs.
it's my fault for bringing this to a podcast. I think we're both. I feel lightheaded. I'm also.
Mm,
Do you feel dizzy?
no,
No.
but I do feel I'm definitely having a time. I'm definitely in a state of like just giggliness, but I don't
I've
have.
loosened you up. I've lubed
You've
you
loosened
up
me up
just like
a
I planned.
hundred, just like you fucking planned. But yeah, I'm like, I want to giggle about something, but we got to have something to giggle about other than sheets because I think we want to make other people giggle too. And this is
Okay.
only doing it for you and me.
Okay.
Let
Well,
me
I
think.
said what I had.
Okay, I do have a question slash topic that I
Yeah.
think about, and I think you may have answers because you know more about this topic than I do.
Dope.
So, babies, right? Just, your average baby. Okay, parents, new parents, here I am, new parents will sometimes talk about how their baby doesn't like certain types of people based on random things. They'll be like, oh, she
Hmm.
really doesn't do well around men, or she doesn't do well around people with short hair, or people with a beard, or
What?
have you ever heard
Interesting.
people say this? I feel like I hear it a lot
Uh,
where they will caveat, like, you'll come over to somebody's house who has a new baby and they'll caveat like, oh,
mhm.
basically like, oh, if the baby's fussy or cries or whatever, don't worry. It's not that they don't like you. It's that they're just weird about people with brown hair or something. They'll literally say
Oh
shit like that.
wow. I've never heard it that specific. I think I've heard the gender thing. But I think I've heard this more. People are talking about their dogs. They're like, oh, their dog is racist or
Yes.
something like that. I've heard
Yeah,
people
or
say
like
that.
doesn't like men, and the theory if it's like a dog who's been adopted, then they're like maybe she was abused by someone that looks like that or whatever.
But then what's the deal with babies?
But
It's
with
like
a
maybe
brand
they
new
were
baby.
abused.
Yeah.
Oh
So
no.
I take
She don't,
issue
she
with
only
it,
doesn't like men because her dad abused her. Like
right? In
he's
the last
standing right there.
few months. Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
So
My baby's racist. What if people said that about their baby?
people act like
Oh,
that.
my baby just doesn't like your race.
That's you're creating that problem, by the way. This is how racist people show up, is that you created this baby
Oh,
that
wait,
now.
wait, 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 wait. People are saying this about their dogs, and it was crazy then. And I'm just saying it would be funnier if it was babiys.
I think people do it with their
I'm
baby.
not saying babies should be racist. Let me be
Oh, no, no,
clear.
no. I didn't mean you.
Okay.
I meant the parent. All I'm saying is like if you decide that your baby's being racist, then you're probably going to end up with a racist kid later on because you put that construct into the vicinity. Whatever. That's not
That's what we're
what the
saying.
topic is.
That's my point.
Topic is the topic is that I feel like it probably is a product of new parents feeling embarrassed or something that their kid might be fussy and wanting to give like a disclaimer about like, no, no, my kid's actually very good.
Hmm.
And the only reason that they might get fussy is just because they're not used to this one thing yet. And I understand where that is coming from, but your kid's allowed to be fussy. It's like a 6-month-old baby. This is very specifically,
Mm.
and I'm sure my friend Sarah, hello, is listening. Um, I visited them and their partner and their baby, who's about 6 months old, a couple weeks ago, and they were like, they were like, she's the baby is like not good around people with short hair. Like so and so was over the other day and just got a haircut and like the baby was freaking out. So we think that like she just doesn't like short hair. So if Ryan comes around and she's crying, don't worry, it's not that she doesn't like Ryan, it's just that she's like nervous about short hair.
Oh my
And
God, their
I'm
baby's
like
racist. Their baby's
yeah,
racist.
I'm like Ryan's also a black man. What are you But like it was just this whole thing that I was like, it's fine. I'm not worried about.
Yeah.
And then guess what? She was
I
fine
have
around
so many
Ryan.
thoughts. I have so
The
many
baby was
thoughts.
fine. The baby
The
was fine.
baby was
Because guess
fine.
what? She was probably just tired the other day. And that's why she was fussy. And then today she happens not to be. And then tomorrow she might be. And I just think people make a lot of like caveats and excuses and disclaimers for understandable reasons because they're like they don't want anyone to think that they have a bad baby or a fussy baby or whatever. But it's like it's okay. It's a baby. I'm not expecting that it's never going to cry around me. And I'm not taking
Yeah.
it personally like as though it doesn't like me because it's crying. I get that it's a baby, so it
It's a
cries.
fucking baby. I feel like,
Can we open this up? Can we figure this
okay,
out?
I have so many thoughts. First, I want to say, I feel like what you said at the end there would be my guess at why more people say it is
Yeah.
that my guess, I don't fucking know, but I think it's maybe less so people be embarrassed about their baby crying. And I think maybe more often it's that a new parent really wants everyone to be in love with their baby and really wants
Yeah.
everyone to be personally attached to their baby. And
Mm.
some people will take it personally. Like, if you meet a baby or a dog or something that you are determined doesn't like you, you're
Yep.
less likely to like also, approach them and be enthusiastic as opposed to if you meet that baby or that dog. I don't know why I keep bringing dogs into it, but like a baby, I think it's the same.
It's the same.
If you
Yeah.
meet your friend's baby or your friend's dog and they're obsessed with you, you kind of attach to them more. You feel like
Yes.
more engaged, you feel more, but both to the parent and to the baby or the dog or like whatever. It's like, oh, me and this baby have this special bond, me and this dog have a special bond. And I think all parents like especially new young parents really want everyone to like feel the excitement and attachment to their kid that they want. That's my best guess. That's
Yeah,
my
I
best
think
guess.
that's
So
right.
I think it's less being defensive about their baby and more probably your friend Sarah being like, but like this is my brand new baby Jess, like can you believe I had a baby, like I want you to love this baby and be so excited about it the way that I am, and I want the baby to be excited about you about the way blah 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 blah. And it's just like everybody wants wanting their loved people to like be excited about each
Yeah,
other, you know what I mean, I think.
I think you're right.
And I will add, if I can
I
say
will never take
something,
it personally, but go on. Yes.
some people do. Some people
Some
they
people
just like
do.
stop. They just like stop giving as much. Like which I think is kind of
Mm,
normal. Like if a baby fucking hated me, which babies have hated me before, and I'm not as obsessed with that baby. Sorry, because it's like kind of annoying. It's like
guess that's true.
if a dog seems to hate you, like are you always begging to like dog sit that dog? No,
No.
you know.
Definitely with dogs, and I think also more with toddlers. Like once they can interact a little bit more and maybe even talk, then I think I could get that way with a child of like, oh, this kid I really have a bond with this niece of mine, but I don't really
Totally.
have as much of a bond with that niece of mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something about when they're specifically like under a year
Tiny.
old and they're doing nothing and they're just
Yeah.
cute and you're like, I trust me, I'm not going to make this about me. But yeah, I can understand that not everyone has that sort of
I think some people get
clarity. And I'm
freaked
not the
out.
most baby obsessed person in the world either. I
Yeah.
love Sarah's baby actually a
That's
lot and I
true.
was watching videos of her this morning for a long time. So like I do love this baby,
You love the baby.
but
You love this baby.
I'm not the most I don't take baby politics personally.
You know what? Maybe that's why. I think probably because you don't consider yourself as much of a baby person, you're probably just more chill about it. But I think there's enough people who, um, I mean, even I think if I was spent a lot of time with a baby and I could not calm the baby down, like I would feel bad about it. It would make me kind of feel bad. It would make me kind of feel like rejected a little bit or
Yeah.
like a failure, even though it may have nothing to do with me. But I think some people feel that way. But also the second part I wanted to say is that respectfully to Sarah, hello Sarah, thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for making a baby. Um,
Shout out Frankie.
respectfully, who's Frankie? Who's
Their
Frankie?
baby. Their
The
baby.
baby. Okay, shout
Yeah.
out Frankie. Respectfully, the idea that this baby doesn't like people with short hair is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Respectfully. I just want to say respectfully, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Mostly maybe because maybe I need more information here, but like, how was that study conducted? Because like, okay, so
It
babies don't talk. So we're just trying to notice patterns here or correlations.
was just
And
one. I think it was just
there's
one day.
yeah, so that's not a pattern and it's not a correlation. It's just something that happened and you've determined it's because their hair was short. Respectfully, I think that's
Yeah.
Stupid? Can
Yeah.
I say that?
Yeah, you can say that. I wish I had
It's just
said
a
this at the
rumor. It's just
time, but
starting.
it felt too raw. So now
No,
I'm
you
saying it
can't.
through the podcast.
Yeah, you can't say
But
that. Only you can't say that's
we'll talk about it
stupid.
later, Sarah. It's fine.
Yeah. I just want to know how they came to that conclusion because it seems like there's a lot of other conclusions. Like maybe I feel like more likely is like the baby could have been reacting to how the person smelled or a color or like you're
Right.
you're
Like
you're
there
determined
could have
it's the
been so
length
many
of
other
their hair,
things going on.
the tone of their voice or the way they held them or their height or like but you decided it's their hair length. That seems
Honestly,
crazy.
vibes. Like I feel like
Yeah,
babies tend to like me because I exude this chill energy of like I don't care
because
if
you
you
are
like me or don't,
baby.
baby,
Yeah,
because I am a baby.
you
First of all,
are
I'm
baby
baby.
and you're constantly playing hard to get with all the local babies. And so they're
100%,
so into
100%.
that.
So
Yeah.
they're just kind of like, oh, like this is another baby that like doesn't care if I live or die. Like
Baby.
babies tend to like me because I'm not like all anxious about getting their approval, you know? But some people are walking around being all anxious
I'm
around
desperate. I'm
babies.
desperate for it. I'm so
And
desperate.
guess
I'm a
what? Some
slut.
babies can smell
Yeah,
that out. They can sniff out that
they can.
anxiety in
I
you,
think
and
they
they don't
can.
like that.
I'm just a slut for babies. I feel like I'm trying so hard to get their approval. I'll do anything to make them like me,
Some of
honestly.
them like that, I think, but some of them,
Yeah, the fuck boy
yeah, it's a little
babies.
more hard to get. I know I like the fuckboy babies the best, I think.
The fuckboy babies that
I
use
think
you for
that's
your
my
body.
toxicity.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
just always using you to
for
be
my
held and
boobs.
rocked and cooed. Oh,
They're
you're giving
like,
them your
"Oh, that
boobs?
friend has big boobs." Yeah, a lot of babies they'll just grab it, because they're like
Really?
used to breastfeeding or whatever. And then if I hold them,
Wow.
they'll like try on me or like touch shit. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because they're
Yeah,
like,
I
"Oh, this is
know.
like my mom's." Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No, babies don't even I get babies and most people don't even recognize that I have boobs. They can't find them. I would just want to say, Jessica, I know you don't know a lot about babies, but you
Mm.
can't just start, you shouldn't be breastfeeding your friends' babies, even if
No,
they want it.
I did learn that the hard way. No, I'm just
Really?
kidding. Obviously, no.
Would you
Um,
breastfeed Ryan? That's a personal question. I guess that's too personal. It's too
I
personal.
think my
Speaking
silence
of,
speaks volumes.
okay, remember how Ryan's black?
Yeah, are you gonna tell the story of the joke he made at that wedding that
This
made you
is
laugh
my
so
favorite.
hard?
This is
Yeah,
my favorite part.
this made
This is
you
my
laugh so
favorite
hard, and I
conversation.
loved it.
Wait, what even was it? What even was it? We
You
were
were
just
asking
talking,
him.
Ryan. We were at this wedding. Justin and I were at this wedding, and Justin and Ryan are there. What was he talking? He was trying to explain Black
You
Twitter to
asked,
me.
yeah, oh yeah, we were talking about, he was trying to explain Black Twitter to you,
Yeah.
which I don't even
What did
know
he
that I'm
say?
equipped to explain that to the
He
listeners
was
today,
he
but
was
it's
saying how
just,
he
you asked him if
ask him.
okay, so my boyfriend Ryan is black. Also happens to be that my best friend Akayate, Kai, who I've talked about a lot on the podcast, is black. And Caroline asked Ryan, like, it had nothing to do with their blackness, but
Oh God, you better set this up right.
Caroline asked Ryan, like, oh, I think you were talking about maybe coming to visit us in Chicago. And you were like, and I really want to meet your friends. And I really am excited to meet Kai. You talk so much about her. Oh, and I bet Ryan and Kai, like, I would love to see their vibe together. Like, that would be so interesting and fun. And then you were like, I don't, and Ryan said something like, some comment in response to that. And you were like, oh, then what is your vibe like with Kai? What do you guys talk about? And he goes, just black stuff.
Yeah, I was asking him. I feel like we were talking about how we all show up at a party, and you were saying that
Oh,
you're like the
maybe.
life of the party, and that
I love that I said that
Ryan
about myself.
so you said something like that. And then which is true. And then Ryan takes more of a back seat, and I was asking where Kai fit in between the two.
Maybe that's what it
And he
was.
was like, "Oh, Kai and I just talk about black stuff." And I was like, "What
Yeah.
kind of black stuff?" And then he was explaining Black
Black
Twitter to me.
Twitter.
I
Yeah.
don't know why. It was just, and then he took us on like some like a historical deep dive of like in jokes on Black Twitter that white people don't understand. And it was like the best lesson I've ever received. And just watching his eyes lighting up talking about it, but also like
Mm.
knowing that I could never really appreciate it. I don't know.
I loved it. And
Making
I
me
loved that you
laugh.
loved it. And Yeah, it is very fun. We talked about this. Like, it's so fun to get somebody on a topic that their eyes light up about. It can be as so random. It could be Black Twitter. Like, Ryan is not the president of Black Twitter, but he was
Yes.
just like
It could be.
elated
Yes.
elated to be like, oh, this is this like niche
It
funny
was so
thing
funny.
that you don't know about that I can talk about and give examples of. And he just like really got into the conversation and you guys had a blast, which was fun for me to
We did have a
watch.
blast. He was cracking me up. And I think it's like the thing that I love what you're describing is that thing where it's like, oh, you exist, or like you have this whole other world or sphere that is very active to you, and I will never hear about it. Like for some people, I've realized a lot of the time it can be like a YouTuber they watch because people
Yeah.
will watch a YouTuber, like a single specific YouTuber for like 10 years. They've watched the same person for 10 years and they don't talk to
They
anyone about
talk
it.
to no one about it.
It is a
Mm-hmm.
private event. It's
Mm-hmm.
like this private viewing. It's not the same as like watching a TV show with all your friends. And I've met so many people, including you, who like,
Yep.
oh yeah, I've watched that YouTuber for 10 or 15 years and they've never spoken a word to anyone about it, not even their best friends. And it's not a secret. It's just like, oh, this is just like a private thing I exist in. And it's
Yep.
not it's not really for anyone else, but it's a very active and real part of my life that I can talk in depth about. And that's what happened
Yep.
when Ryan started explaining Black Twitter and he was just like, "Oh yeah, I can talk about it in depth, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "I don't even understand what it
Yeah.
is."
It
And
is so, the
you know
YouTuber
what I mean?
example is such a good one because I have had that moment where, yeah, I've been watching YouTubers since high school. And
Yeah.
it was never something I talked about because I just started doing it on my own. And it was not like a social thing. It's just like, I pull up this website and I watch random videos when I'm home having alone time. And it was
Yeah.
never something that came up in conversation. I had no idea if anyone else that I knew also did that, let alone watched the same YouTubers. And then, like, I swear, I still remember the first time I ever talked to anybody really about watching a specific YouTuber and lit up. It was Kai's ex-boyfriend, still a nice guy, just didn't work out, but he wasn't one of the fuckers. And it was like one of the first times that I met him, and somehow we he brought up watching YouTube or something. This was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. So I was like 28. And this is the first time I ever talked to anybody about watching YouTube.
Yeah.
And he mentioned it. And I was like, wait, hold on. You know what that is? And it actually was about David Dobrik, which is so like, honestly, at this point, like kind of cringe that it was David Dobrik that we both watched. Um,
Wow.
but I was like, wait, you know about that? Like, do you know about this other guy in the vlog squad or whatever? So fucking dumb. Um, and we just talked about it and like immediately connected. It was like we are now bonded
Yeah.
for life. They only dated for
Yeah.
a little bit. They broke up, and still I think about that. I run into him in Chicago every now and then because I think we live near each other. And like I have a special bond with him, even though he's my best friend's ex-boyfriend from years ago, because we had this moment of like, oh,
Yeah.
you understand a part of me that is so specific, and it's a whole world. It's like, but it's a whole world that I've never talked to anybody about. It's
Mm-hmm.
so interesting. It's
But you're
so fun.
also
That's why
like
I love YouTube.
deeply engaged in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's a whole well of people and interactions and content and stories and
Opinions and like stuff you're
exactly.
evaluating. And yeah, it's crazy how much of our like just private thoughts are private and like never get aired anywhere. Like I've like I'm having like whole like press conferences about Suki Waterhouse alone in my head, and I don't even think I've said her name out loud to anyone before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I'm trying to think of others. I mean, definitely a lot of YouTubers. Trisha Paytas. Okay, can I just say, I think I talked about her at one point on the podcast a really long time ago.
I think
She's
I
this
ended up
niche.
looking her up after you did. Let me just confirm I know who that. I think I did.
Once
Oh,
you see her
yeah.
face, you'll
I
remember. She's
I
very
actually
specific.
ended up going on a deep, 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 deep dive about her. After you talked about her, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there.
She's such a fun mystery.
She's wild and she is a part of my soul. And recently, within the last like 6 months, she's been having this huge resurgence. I mean, I never let go of her. I've been a fan of hers for a really long time, but she's been having a resurgence within the public in general, where so much so that she was on SNL. She like
Yeah.
was did a show on Broadway randomly.
Yeah.
She's having this big moment and I'm like, I've been watching her since I was 20 and she was insane sitting on her kitchen floor crying on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so gratifying when you're like, ha, other people know about this person too, so much so that she's on SNL now. Like, I don't know. There's something really interesting there.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had that experience of having discovered someone really young. Oh, actually, no. The only person I can think of, Bowen Yang. Um,
Love. He's the one that brought her onto SNL. Like, he's a fan of hers. So that's
really?
funny that you mention him. Yeah.
I was in improv classes. He was in my improv class when I was doing improv in New York,
Ugh.
and he fucking doesn't know who I am. We were in like one class, that probably lasted like 2 or 3 weeks together. And what I remember of that is that this was he was nothing at that point. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't writing on SNL, he wasn't anything. But in that class, it was probably a class of like maybe 12 or 16 people, and you have one improv teacher. And when you're in the improv comedy world, you take these classes all the time. So he certainly would not have, I left no impression. He wouldn't remember me. We weren't friends. He was just in the class with me. And he was one of those talents that he was so high above everyone else in terms
Wow.
of how funny he was, that it was like it felt like being in the room with what I imagine it's like to be in the room with Robin Williams. It's just like you could have
Wow.
so many funny people in there, and it's just like everybody will wave their white flag and give up. Like he's the only it was really
That's so
intense.
cool.
It was really crazy. And I'd done years of improv classes with like hundreds, thousands of people, and I'd never had that experience that was the same as being in class with Bowen
Wow.
Yang. And it was to the point where there can be a lot of competition, obviously, in like the comedy and performance world. And I think in a given class, there's usually like 2 or 4 people who are all like really good, but like some of the less good people can still have great moments, and like everybody's kind of neck and neck. And then there was just Bowen Yang, like a mile beyond everybody, to the point where like the teacher would try not to be too biased or have favorites. And it was a great teacher, and he still did a really good job with this, but like he would be dying laughing. Like you
Wow.
couldn't not laugh, and you couldn't even really give him notes. You couldn't even really give Bowen Yang notes because it was it was just killing. Like
Mm.
everything he did killed. And I just remember that. And then, yeah, seeing him from afar doing all these things, and then which he so deserves. And then also
That's the
being
coolest
like,
part that he
right?
deserves it. Like for you to say that and
Oh,
him
he's
to be at the
so,
level that he's at now, it's like I thank God that somebody who demonstrated that level of undeniable talent from that young age
yeah,
actually made it because that takes a lot of like luck
hard and
and
rare. A lot of things have to line up.
circumstances lining up. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that actually makes me so happy. And I'm such a huge fan of his. That's really cool. That's
It
really cool.
was it's fun to watch, and I feel like he deserves everything he has, but he also is like so much funnier than all the things he has right now. Like he was in the Wicked movie, and I talked about seeing Wicked,
Yeah.
and watching that, it's like, oh, he's like a silly character in it. And it was just so funny being like, great role, amazing for him, such a cool achievement. And like this role and this movie like doesn't do him justice.
Mm,
Like to me, he should end up as someone who's like forever legend. Like he should go so far beyond. I feel like the
that's
roles and the
awesome.
opportunities he's had don't even do his talent justice. It's like
Yeah.
you're sometimes relying on other people to write roles for you, but your talent is something no one's seen before. So how's anyone even going to write for it? I don't
Hmm.
know. I feel like he was amazing to watch. Yeah. The
I feel
end.
like he's only at the start. Like to your point,
Yeah.
I think he Yeah, like obviously he's on SNL. He has his podcast. I'm obsessed with his podcast. It's like in my top three favorites. But he's not even like a laugh out loud comedian on there. He's funny and he's smart and he's charming and like
He's
there
better
is
as an
something.
improviser. He's better for
Yeah,
me.
and they
I think
do
improv
some
was
like
his medium.
improv on the podcast, but it's not like yeah, it's not rolling on the floor laughing, but
Yeah.
all of these things he's doing now that and you saying what you're saying makes me feel like he's going to explode eventually. Like there's going to
Yeah.
be a moment where he gets to be in that perfect role um that like shows all of that off and that's
Yeah.
exciting to even think about. I love
I
that guy.
mean,
Wow.
he's
That's
probably
so
gonna have
fun.
to
I love
create
that
it.
you created that you
So
crossed paths with
random.
him.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm not obsessed with the podcast. I feel like their podcast seems like I also know that, I mean, I watched the guy Matt Rogers do improv as well. They were both in the New York comedy
Yeah, they
scene.
were friends. They've been
Um,
friends like since college. Um
mm,
yeah, they're fun. They're fun. It's very specific. It's very pop culture. Their podcast is called Las Culturistas for anybody who hasn't heard of it. It's very pop culture. It's very like gay, it's like two gay boys talking about pop culture. So there are some things that like I'm just less privy to or less part of that scene or something. And then
yeah, I
there are
don't
some
watch
things
most
where
of the
I'm
things they
like,
talk about.
right, like a lot of it I'm like, "Oh, I don't even know this reference point." But then sometimes I tune in and or they'll do like interviews with interesting people. They're just fun. Fun.
Fun as fuck, dog. Support for Not For Everyone comes from BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers online therapy that is flexible and tailored to your needs. And it's funny for me to reflect sometimes on how I don't even think this entire podcast would exist without therapy. Like anything good I've learned comes from therapy. This week in therapy, I was trying to relay a situation to my therapist where a friend and I had, we're kind of conflicting over a scenario. And I was trying to, partially advocate for my friend's perspective, partially advocate for my perspective. Let's find out which one is correct and who was right here and am I in the wrong? Are they in the wrong? And I was just going back and forth manically on this topic and my therapist stopped me and was just like, hold on. I need you to assume for a second that there is not one correct way to react to this scenario. There's a way you're going to react, there's the way your friend is going to react. Those are going to be based on your childhood, your brain chemistry, your neurodivergence or not, your gender, your stature. There are about a million factors that are going to decide what is the right way for you to approach this scenario. And the right way is going to be different for both of you. And saying it out loud, it feels very intuitive. It makes a lot of sense. But it was just one of those therapy moments that slapped me in the face, and I will never forget it. And it has permanently altered the way I see the world. And these moments happen all the time for me in therapy through the years. Something that, like, there's always helpful things every week, but sometimes something just slaps you across the face and hits you in the chest, and it never leaves your body again after that point, and it really changes the way you move through the world. This is why I love therapy. These are like these indescribable moments that I really encourage people to experience for themselves. If you haven't tried therapy before, BetterHelp is a great way to get started. You can schedule online therapy remotely in whatever way fits your schedule. You can even message with your therapist. You can change therapists at any time, which I think is really important because I think it's important to find that correct personality fit that makes you feel comfortable being vulnerable. They offer a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Discover the mind blowing mantras that are going to alter you and your brain and your heart for the rest of your life with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/notforeveryone and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/notforeveryone, all spelled out. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hessica, let's do a new segment.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we've decided we're trying out a new segment on the pod. Excuse me. This segment is called Am I the Hater? And Am I the Hater is when we take listener write-ins. They're kind of like what a do's, but more listener write-ins where you're describing a real scenario that you're kind of torn up about and you're trying to figure out if you're the jerk or not. I'm pulling this idea from there's like the internet concept of am I the asshole? That's a thing on Reddit and other places on the internet. This is like an established format, am I the asshole? Where people write in about, whatever. They write in about a fucking whatever. And then the hosts get to decide and tear apart the different angles of deciding, like, who's the villain? Is there a villain? Are both people the villain? Are both people in the right? Like, what's the dynamic? And it's fun to do with like juicy, genuinely complicated topics where guess what? There's not one right answer. It's just a bunch of hoes, bunch of haters and lovers yapping their opinions, talking it through. There's not usually one right answer, and that's kind of usually why it's fun, is because people, we're going to bring our different perspectives to how we think about the situation, and then you'll probably disagree with anything either of us says, and that's what's the most fun. So, that wasn't a
So
very well branded introduction to this.
it was great. It was great.
Awesome.
We're doing Am I the Asshole, which is a known thing. We're changing it to Am I the Hater? It's not
Am
a
I the
bad thing to be a
hater?
hater. We're
Yeah.
all haters sometimes, and nothing that we say is law. So, if
So
you don't
you
agree,
can't
that's
sue us.
fine. Okay, I like this one. Am I the asshole or am I the hater for always wanting to yap nonstop to my partner? I understand all concepts of personal space theoretically, but it's fun to yap. I know I am in the wrong, but am I the asshole? I thought that was interesting because it's like, what are you doing that's asshole-ish, dog? You're just like wanting to be chatty. So it
Mm.
makes me ask, are they demonstrating signs of annoyance or like telling you to stop? Because that's where then a boundary is there and we have to decide whether that boundary is being crossed or whether they're the asshole for setting it in the first place. But just at face value, yapping all day long to your partner is the joie de vivre, as I spoke about earlier. You could tell that I am. If this person is a hater, then so am I because I be yapping all day to Ryan about Black Twitter and stuff, you know?
Yeah, about Black Twitter. Yeah, I don't have much to say about that one. It sounds like it's just a legitimate need, and maybe your partner has a need, also legitimate need for more quiet time. And sometimes you just have two needs and they don't always match up, and that doesn't mean that one is right or one is wrong.
Yeah, I think
Lame.
that's exactly it. Um,
Not the listener is lame. I was saying that the my answer was lame, just to be clear.
but it's the truth. But it's so
Yeah.
hard. It's like one of the hardest things I feel. As we
Yeah,
talked
to
about
have
it, like,
conflicting needs.
yeah, yeah. And that's in general, like you can be different people at a high level and generally need different things frequently. And then it can also happen on a micro level of like on this day, like this happens to Ryan and I sometimes where we will just have a day where I feel like I really need together time or like words of affirmation or just lots of like attention. And he happens to be having a day where he really needs alone time and personal space. And I'm like, it's like whose needs take precedence then?
It's hard.
Um, it's really
Yeah.
hard. And it doesn't make anybody wrong. It just makes the timing unfortunate and the needs unfortunate. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that for any relationship, even the best ones, that there's just going to be times where no, your partner's not able to meet your needs. And I think and that can be hard, and maybe you have to go and like take care of yourself more for a period. But I think that's very different than like long term not being able to meet someone's needs. Like, yeah, I think
Yes.
there's going to be moments. I guess to me, maybe it's a difference between like you want to talk all the time and that's fun and that's connective, and your partner never wants to connect that way. Like that sounds like a problem. That
Yep.
sounds like two people are going to be unhappy, or one or both people are going to be unhappy, as opposed to like, my boyfriend's going through a really hard time and like he's, emotionally maybe not that available to me right now, but it's just a hard month or it's a hard period or there's a specific incident where I need to take care of myself more. I think those are different. They're
Yeah,
still
they are.
hard, but eh,
And I feel like that's why it's so important to maintain your friendships when you're in a relationship, because go to
yeah.
somebody else with the yapping sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Um, it's so easy to get to fall into a pattern of like, oh, this is my person. Maybe you live together or just spend a lot of time together and you really think of them as your best friend and like you do want to tell them everything and they are the first person that when something funny happens or good happens or bad happens or whatever, like they're the first person you want to tell. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but if they're not available for it at a certain time when it's what you want and need, then like having somewhere else to go comes in handy. Like and honestly, you might yeah, you're more likely to get what you need then. If I want to talk about some random like I don't know, some maybe it's like gossip about somebody from my college that Ryan happens to be at home with me and that happens to be when I think about it or I get a text about it or something and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Whoa, this is like crazy information. I want to talk to somebody about it." And I go try to talk to him about it and maybe he's busy doing something and he also doesn't really know who this person is and it's just kind of like, "What do you want me to do with this?" Yeah, wrong audience, dog. Like that's when I need to call one of my best friends
Yeah.
and yap with them. And that's a really low level example, but I think it applies to
No, it's
anything.
yeah, if it's a common part of your everyday, it's like, okay, shutting it down one time, denying yourself one time, fine enough. But like, yeah, you need to find the rhythm that works for you. Like Justin and I have had to talk through a few of these where he's like one of the biggest texters I've ever met, and I don't. I love him more than anyone, but I just don't like texting. I think some of my friends have like gotten offended at me saying that, but it's not personal. Like I also don't want to text with Justin.
Yeah.
I just don't like fucking looking at a screen to read letters with no emotion. Like it does nothing for me but give me a headache. And and for a while, he texts so much. And for a while, I was really operating under this assumption that, like, oh, he needs this. He needs this from me. He needs this. And I
Mm,
don't want to be a partner that denies him. So, like, I need to find a way to give this to him. And it was making me so annoyed, first of all, and like so, like, almost resentful because it was so unpleasant and it felt like such a chore. And I was receiving nothing for it. Just like, I just don't like doing that.
yeah.
And we had to have like, I had to have like a come to Jesus conversation about, I don't even know how I brought it up, but I was just like, I'm gonna be like, I can't keep doing this texting. Like, what's the schedule we can do? Or like, how can we find a compromise? And only once I
On
brought it up to
Wednesdays
him,
and Fridays we
yes,
text.
I was trying to set like hourly schedules of like pause times and text time. And once I brought it up to him, he was just like, oh, yeah, I like don't need to do that with you. Like, I text with other people. Like, I don't need to text you. And I was like, really? That's awesome. Like, I had no idea. It was just what he naturally does. And I just made this assumption that he needed it from me so badly.
Hmm.
Um, and I was completely false, like self-important assumption on my part. And then I think we had like a conversation recently where he goes on these like long rants and they can be very funny. But like sometimes, and I love them, but also sometimes I'm like, I emotionally can't handle the rants today. And
Yeah.
once again, I thought that like, oh, he needs this and I have to bear it every time because even if I'm not in the space too, because like I'm his partner and how dare I not show up for him? And then I was running myself down again in a time that was like emotionally difficult for me. And so I ended up snapping and being like, I can't do this right now. It's so overwhelming to me. And he was just like, "Oh, that's cool. Like I had no idea it had like any effect on you at all. I don't need to do that with you."
Hmm.
Like he was like, "That's something I could turn on and off. Like it's not required." And I feel like I just learned that A, the assumption of like, I'm gonna betray my own boundary because this person needs it. huge assumptions. There's so many assumptions in there. And also, even if that were true, even if Justin was saying, you do have to do this for me because I need it, you must betray your own boundaries and sanity for me. No, you don't. No, you
Yeah.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I'm so curious with this listener, what's going on their partner's side, and is their partner saying anything is an issue with this, or are they just assuming that it's an issue for their partner? Are they assuming it because they're annoyed with themselves? Like
Yeah.
I fall into that a lot where I I think I've been in relationships in the past where I've been like too talkative and too needing attention and too much like wanting to tell them everything. And I was met with, yeah, like disinterest at best and at worst, kind of like really dismissiveness and, um, calling me needy or whatever it was. And so now I almost assume, or for a long time I assumed with Ryan, or just moving forward in dating and in any relationship, I assumed that that would be annoying because I was kind of like trained that it was. And while it might sometimes be annoying, like there is space for it to sometimes annoy somebody, but it
Mhm.
doesn't mean on the whole the behavior is annoying and like unwelcome. It just means that like sometimes people have space for it and sometimes they don't, or at least somebody who wants to be with me and likes these things about me on the whole. And so that's what I've found with Ryan. Like sometimes it does annoy him because he's not in a space for it, but a lot of the times he's happy to partake in my rant or my, high energy or my talkativeness because that's me and he loves me.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to like trust that. I think I was
Yeah.
assuming for a long time that that was annoying to him because it was annoying. It has been annoying to other people and because it's not
Mm.
his nature. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like, oh, well, he doesn't do it. He doesn't do that back to me. So that must mean that it's annoying to him. And it's like, no, it's just
True.
we're different. But he likes me and loves me. So
He
that's
loves
something he
that about
enjoys about
you.
me. Yeah. And he's had to like
Oh.
shake that into me and like
Yeah.
really get me to believe it. Um, so I don't know if that's relevant to this person writing in, but I do think like it's very possible you're
Mm-hmm.
assuming that this is annoying your partner and they're actually totally fine most of the time with it. Or if they are not, then I would be curious, yeah, like how that looks and how that's showing up and whether it's a good situation or a bad situation for you.
Yeah. If her haterness is internal feelings or external
Yes.
feedback. Such a big
Yes.
deal to like realize these things that you were told were annoying about yourself. I mean, I guess we can all be annoying. And it's also okay for your
Of
partner
course.
to annoy you sometimes, but like those major care like personality pieces that you're like, "Oh, you just love me? You just like me?"
Yeah,
One of the
it's
like
hard to believe. Sometimes it's hard
one
to
of the
believe.
it is hard to believe.
It is
This
hard to
other
believe.
someone
Even though
fucking
I
loves
like
this shit.
myself, I actually genuinely like
Yeah.
myself and I still find it
I know
hard to
you do
believe.
like yourself. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, like, yeah, I don't think of you as being as self-hating as I am.
No, I
And it's
really
still
am
hard for
not.
you.
And it's
Yeah.
still hard for me because even if I like it about myself and my friends like it about me, and like most of the data points I have point to like this is a fine or even good thing, a
That's
lovable
so
thing.
true.
Um, if past relationships, romantic relationships have informed me that
Yep.
it doesn't work in that context, then that's what I'm basing it off of. So it's not even about like self-loathing for me. It's about like, oh, I have learned that in relationships this is not welcome. Um, yeah, it's very contextual.
Yeah. I'll say I think the most loved I've ever felt by Justin was
No.
this one, this one night when I was being really annoying, but I was also being really me.
Yeah.
Um, and we like got home from a night out and he was a little tipsy and like in bed, just like ready to pass out. Like, shoes might not even be coming off. He's done. And I was like completely sober and just like I usually I get a second wind at night and I just like start running around. I get really hyper at night usually, and you can
Mm.
tell it's happening because I start screaming second wind. And that's how you know it's happening. And it's so annoying. And I think we had like rice or something left over. Maybe we ordered like Chinese food or something late at night, like late munchies. And he was laying in bed, and I'm having my second wind and like eating Chinese food, completely sober, just like sitting on the ground. And I always like inventing like weird little games to annoy people that make me laugh. And I started feeding I started feeding him grains of rice, one grain at a time with the chopsticks. And I would hold one grain of rice up to his mouth and I'd say rice. And he would have to eat it. But then I was like, no, 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 no. You have to take the rice with the just tiniest piece of your tip of your tongue that you can. You can only stick out just the amount of tongue that you need to get the rice off the chopstick, like really tiny. So you used to have to be like a little cat. And it was making me laugh so hard. And I probably did this for 20 minutes.
Oh
And
my
he,
God.
by the way, he's basically asleep. And I was like, oh, he's gonna snap and get mad at me any moment. He's gonna be so annoyed. Like, this was cute for a moment and it's making me laugh. And he's kind of laughing and he's basically asleep. And he's going to snap any moment because people snap at that stuff. And he ate the whole bowl of
No, that's so good.
and he never snapped at me. And it was like maybe the biggest turning point. One of the
Mm.
biggest turning points where I was just like, you just like to make me laugh and giggle and like you're just sweet to me. Like he was vulnerable, he was tired, he didn't want any more rice, he didn't want to eat it the
So
way I
much
was
rice.
making the way I was making him eat it with just the tip of his tongue. And yeah, we still say rice to each other. It's kind of like how we say I love you,
Rice.
and I'll just be like rice.
Oh, that's really sweet.
It
That's
was
really sweet.
amazing. And I told him that. I was like, I kept waiting for you to snap at me. And I knew I was
Yeah.
going to deserve it. Cause, like, yeah, that it was
And
making,
I
I was
know
having
that
fun, but you
moment.
could have been annoyed. You could have been so annoyed.
And I know that feeling of like at any moment this person's gonna snap at me. I know I'm being
Yep.
annoying and it's almost like I'm testing them or something because in my head
Yeah.
I'm like they're gonna snap. I'm like
That's so
visualizing it.
true. That's so true.
And yeah,
But I
I've
couldn't
felt
stop.
that
Why
many
couldn't,
times with Ryan where he
yeah.
never does. And I'm
And you
like,
never snap.
I'll try again tomorrow, buddy.
Yeah.
Like
I'm hitting you with a quinoa in the morning.
yeah. Yeah, we had going back to the talkativeness and like a story of feeling very loved. Um, a few weeks ago, I was being very annoying and I knew I was being very annoying and but I also, I'm like it's kind of cute when I'm annoying, like if you love me then you also probably think it's cute because like
I
I do.
know.
And I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I was being annoying and I was being
Cute.
hate this word, but it's the only word, like needy. I was just really wanting affection and words of affirmation. And I was feeling like my cup was low on the words of affirmation, I think. Like there was actually a genuine feeling behind it of like, I I need some more of that right now. But I was asking for it and like setting up situations for it with Ryan in a way that was very immature and like irritating, but also kind of funny to me and like whatever. Um, and I was waiting for him to be annoyed. And I could tell he kind of was, to be honest. I was really pushing his buttons. But then, like, at some point, something switched in him from being like, what is she doing? And what does she want? And like, this is kind of annoying. And I don't know if I have energy for it. Like, that was kind of the vibe I was getting from him. And I just kept going because I'm fucking relentless. And then something switched in him. And all of a sudden, he launched into this like whole rant with like all these really sweet and meaningful like compliments and words of affirmation and like things he loves about me and like I was poking and prodding for it, but
Hmm.
he delivered it in such an above and beyond way that was very unlike him. Like it was this like profession of love for
Because he
like
read you.
a while.
He read what was really happening for the person he loved
Yeah, he like
and
knew
that you
that's what I
needed this.
needed. And then he found a way to do it and still make it like so special and genuine, even though it was what I was like almost begging for. Like
Demanding. Yeah.
demanding, like it's this interesting thing
Yeah.
of asking your partner for what you need. And then sometimes there's this trap of, well, I asked you for that. So does it even like, does it
Yeah.
even count if I had to like ask you to say something nice about me? I really try not to do that. I try to be like, sometimes I need things and he can't read my mind and I need to just ask for them and I can't hold it against him that I had to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I generally try to have that like attitude about it, but he just went so above and beyond and went on this whole like rant, really. And he's not a
Wow.
ranter. I'm the ranter. And it was really special for him to just like verbally profess exactly what I needed and more after me being so fucking annoying. I was like, you still, I did all that and you still mean all that? Like, sweet. We got, we're
Sweet.
locked in. Sounds like,
Oh, you're
like,
fucked. Oh, you're fucked, buddy. I
it's just
totally know
so
what you mean.
nice. It's so
It's
nice. Yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's really rare.
Justin and I almost broke up like maybe like 2 months into dating. Like I
Mm,
was ready to end it because he um was not verbally affectionate. Like you were talking about, if you ask
yep.
for it, does it even mean anything? And I think I kind of thought that too. I was like, this dude loves to text, but he was not into like verbal affection. And so it wasn't super affectionate stuff. It was just like chatty, 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 chatty.
Yeah.
And it was really fucking with my head. And I thought he didn't like me, or even maybe this is just his limitation. That's not his love language, and then that sucks too. But that's my love language, and I need that. It's kind of like dating someone who doesn't like to cuddle. Like we're gonna break
Mm.
up. Like I don't care if it's then it's a mismatch of needs. And so I was like at a breaking point and I thought it was going to be over and because I thought this was a thing that wasn't changeable and he was like whoa 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 like this is something I can change, like I can do this. And I think I kind of thought that I would feel the same way, like, well, if I'm asking you to do it and you're just doing it mechanically, it's not going to feel good to me. But I
Yep.
think like if someone really, really does feel those things, they can learn to do it. And I was just reflecting on this the other day, how he is so verbally affectionate now, and I don't stop to think about it. I don't question it. It
Mm.
it's like I had to ask for him to express it that way, and now it's so natural and such a part of our everyday life. Like multiple times throughout every single day. It's never felt mechanical. And I think before going through that, I wouldn't have thought it was worth asking for. I didn't think it was worth asking for. I wasn't asking
Yeah.
him to change it. I was basically just asking to end things because I was like, well,
Just
this is
like
obviously something
you're a
that can't be
person that
changed.
doesn't do that. Yeah.
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 And I was just thinking about that the other day about like, wow, I definitely thought I wouldn't believe him. But I think, there probably are some people who would mechanically start doing it and it wouldn't feel convincing, but what feels real and what doesn't.
Yeah, and at some point, it's like maybe at the beginning, they do have to put in more of a concerted effort
Mm-hmm.
into like starting to share more words of affirmation. Maybe it does feel a little bit forced at the beginning of like this isn't natural to them and you've asked them to try and so they're trying. But if they
Yeah.
continue to do it, then it's at some point you have to be like, okay, now it's just becoming more natural and now they just
Yeah.
honestly they wanted to develop this skill for me, like just wanting to improve at it is a
It's such a big
huge,
deal.
huge thing. Like just wanting to. And
And they're
Ryan and I
wrapping
have had that
themselves
conversation
around.
a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
of
learning a
like
whole different language. So like it probably will
exactly.
feel weird. It's like they have to practice. It's like the first times you and I started making Instagram reels, it's like we felt awkward at first.
Yeah,
Like you're not used to communicating that way, so it takes a while for it to feel natural. It's like they have to practice it too. Yeah,
exactly.
sorry, you
It's
and
with
Ryan, what were you
anything.
saying?
Well, I just think there's something about wanting to do it. Obviously, at some point, wanting isn't enough and there needs to be action. So I'm not trying to say that like stay with somebody who says they want to do something for you, who then shows no signs of actually doing it. That's not the message. But
Hmm.
I think when you're first figuring each other out and like you're learning to express your needs with a new partner who shows up differently than you, just knowing that they want to try is goes a really long way. And
Yeah.
that's something that I used to tell Ryan because he would almost get down on himself of like, oh, if I don't do this naturally, then am I not the right person for you? Um,
No.
and that's always the way he phrased it is like, am I not right for you? He never once said, are you not right for me? He always was like, am
Baby.
I not right for you? And I tried to reassure him and be like, well, it sounds like you want to try. You want
Yeah.
to see if you can. And that's like enough for me in the short term. Like, I'll
I
let
think
you
that's
know if it's not.
everything.
But
There's
right, like
no
that's
person
actually
on
enough.
earth. You're two different people. This is something I feel like I've been screaming at people recently. People who are like, oh, what about this one difference we have? I'm like, one
Yeah.
difference. You could find the ideal partner and you're going to have 100 differences. You're different people. They are not going to, this idea that you're going to find, that anyone can
Yep.
find someone who believes everything that they believe about life and approaches every situation the same way and it communicates in all the same ways and wants every single exact same thing and likes all the exact same things. No, you fucking won't.
Mm-mm.
You're two different people. Hopefully, there's enough of a balance there. But with anyone you end up with, any couple that you admire the most, they're just different people. You're going to have differences of opinion. You're going to have different ways of dealing with things. You're going to have different strengths. Hopefully, your strengths and weaknesses kind of balance each other out. They're going to be different. And thank fucking God you don't
Yeah.
do everything the same. It's so not a reason to write someone off. And I totally agree that, like, wanting to do it, like, I think a lot of couples therapists would say, um, if you're both still showing up and still wanting to put in the work, that's the relationship is
Yep.
still there. But as soon as even one person either doesn't want it anymore or doesn't want to try new things anymore with whatever problems you have, that's the nail in the coffin. That's it. But
Yep.
wanting to keep trying and wanting to still be there, I think that's
That's
it.
all it can be. It's all it can be. Totally.
Yeah.
Nobody comes ready made for you. There's going to be something that, you wish was a little different or just doesn't work, it doesn't mesh with you in the most ideal way. And if you can talk about it and express intent to try and make it better, and then hopefully you do see improvements. But I don't think, I mean, I Ryan's not turned into like the most verbally effusive guy on the planet. That's not who he is. And I love
And
who
that's
he
also
is.
not why you chose him. Yeah.
Exactly. I love who
I
he is.
feel
I
like,
don't want him to
mm-hmm.
change who he is, but it is something that I needed more of
Yeah.
from where he was at the beginning of our relationship. And he has shown up and given me more of it. And without changing himself. Like, this is a
Great.
conversation I have with my friends a lot who are in relationships, like, and maybe, going through something or just going through the growing pains of building a life with somebody that they love. And there's this dynamic of like wanting your partner to improve something or maybe change something, and then them possibly feeling like, well, if I have to change for you, then is this not right? Or like, are you trying to change me? I don't like the idea that you're trying to change me. And I just feel like there's this difference of
Yeah. That's weird.
asking for changes or improvements or shifts or adjustments or whatever in behavior and communication and like things that show up in the relationship in terms of how they treat you and
Mm-hmm.
how they interface with you. And then that's different from like wanting them to change who they are fundamentally. You love that
Sure.
person and you don't want them to change who they are fundamentally, but there are like these
I want to have an
relational,
example.
interpersonal. I mean, I think it's even come up with me and Ryan in some way where I had to shift his mindset from hearing my points of maybe feedback or like requests for change or improvement or something, hearing them as like, this is for us and for our relationship to be stronger. This is what I need for our relationship to be stronger
Hmm.
versus having him hear it as like, I want to
I don't
change
like who
you.
you are.
I don't
Yeah.
like who you are. Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
there's
it's what we're
probably,
talking about with the love languages. Like the
yeah,
way that somebody expresses love isn't who they are. It's a developed behavior or
yeah.
communication style based on their past experiences, but it's not who they are. They have the capacity to shift that, change that. We talked about attachment
If
styles
they
with
want
Carter
to,
last
yeah.
week. Like your
I mean, and
attachment
if they
style is
don't,
something that develops early and then you can shift it if you want to and if you find the
if you want
person
to.
that supports you doing it. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, I mean, all you can do is ask. The idea that
Yeah.
like we're not supposed to change for anybody is, I think, laughable to me because you're changing anyway. We're not, none of us
Mm,
are static. We're changing all the time. We're all evolving, all changing, whether someone asks us to or not.
yeah.
And so to think that you're never going to take into consideration the requests for change or adjustment from your dearest person, that's bizarre to me. Like, well, I'm changing anyway. I'm changing for stuff all the time. I'm changing for life circumstances. I'm changing for goals. I'm changing for new paths. I'm changing for friendships. Like, and I'm not going to listen to like the requests for change from my closest person. I might not say yes to all of them. I don't think you always need to say
Yeah.
yes. But I like, yeah, change is a huge part. You change for each other. And also, I think it's like legitimate, I could have asked Justin, I could have told Justin I need more verbal communication, and he could have said, listen, I love you, but I can't do that. That's his right. That's not wrong. It just means we're not going to be together. Like, you have a right to say no to requests for change, but you get to weigh that request with, like, is this core to who I am? Am I going to die on this hill? Or is this like
Yeah.
something I can think about and learn more about and it's worth the adjustment?
Yeah.
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 Meh.
Speaking of change and being open to that change and the fact that we're changing all the time, it's also possible that somebody who is too stuck in their ways and has a mindset of like, no, I won't change that. I won't shift for you. I won't try to, adjust this because of your needs. Maybe that's not a person who maybe that's not a good
Yeah.
match for you if you are somebody who
Oh,
is
yeah.
willing to make those types of changes. Like I feel like there's a level to which like you can talk it through and maybe they can start to see it differently and understand it differently the way that I was able to kind of get that through to Ryan. But then there's also another type of person that doesn't have interest in that type of growth. And if you are a person that does, then maybe that's the point at which you realize like, oh, that's we're actually just not well matched because if
Yeah.
their expectation is that they're going to stay the same forever and we're going to build this I want to build this like long life with them that I know is going to change and throw new things at us all the time and they're not willing to, be malleable this early, then maybe that's not somebody that's really ready to be in that type of
Totally.
relationship.
Because it basically just means that they don't care about your experience of them enough. The
Yeah.
idea that like a request for change from your partner means they're trying to change you, like maybe it will. Maybe it's an invalid request or an unfair request. You can decide
Yeah.
that. But I think a lot of the time it's just like, oh, this is one of my needs that is kind of being missed, and it's a need I'd like to, have filled by you. So to be like, nah, it's like, okay, so somebody doesn't care about your experience of this relationship very much. I was in that relationship
Yeah.
before where every time I asked for something, he would kind of attack me by being like, so you don't even like who I am. You don't even like who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it really got in my head. And I was like, I mean, there's probably a part of it that I shouldn't have been with him. No shit. I think there was a part of it
Yeah.
that was like, I am trying to make something work that obviously doesn't fucking work. But then there was also a part of it that was just like a little bit of narcissism. Like, you can't,
Mm-hmm.
you can't really consider anyone else's experience in what's supposed to be a mutual dynamic. Yeah,
Yep.
I wouldn't want to be in that relationship either.
Yep. Yeah, Ryan and I like to try to distinguish there's him, there's me, and there's the relationship. Like the
Mm-hmm.
relationship is like almost a third person
Mm.
in this dynamic. And so sometimes it makes it easier to talk about the relationship having these changes and shifts, or like, this is what the relationship needs. It
Oh, that's
ultimately
cool.
is like, this is what I need to happily be in the relationship, but
Yeah.
therefore it's what the relationship needs. But the
Yeah.
relationship between the two of us needs things that you require
Oh,
and things that I require. And so, yeah, sometimes that takes like the personal attack
I like that.
tendency out of it, because it's
And
not
we're
like
in it
you need to change for
together.
me. It's like the relationship needs this type of change or this type
Yeah.
of evolution or this type of, yeah, more of this, less of this, whatever.
Yeah. And that's the truth because like if certain needs aren't met for Jessica, then the relationship will suffer and then Ryan will also suffer. It's like
Exactly.
everybody suffers when one person's important needs aren't being met. It's like we're all going to
Exactly.
feel this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jessica. Okay, I can't remember what I was going to say, but I swear to God it was good. So you just have to take
I
my word
bet.
for it.
I bet it was. I bet it was.
Fucking
Tell us next
bet
time.
dog. Okay.
We gotta go. We gotta go. Go, go. I love you, Caroline, and I
I love
love
you,
most of
Jessica.
the people listening probably. Find us at not the number four everyone pod on Instagram. We're posting some cute stuff and I want you to be there. And that's it. We'll talk to you next
Ooh,
week.
I'm going to say send us some more Am I the Hater conundrums. We want a
Yeah,
really juicy, something that you are, what I want, the ones we'll pick are ones where it is genuinely complicated, nuanced. There's a bunch of legitimate perspectives, not the ones where it's like, obviously, you think you're in the right and everyone would agree with you, blah, 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 blah. Send us a real juicy, like, I want to say headbanger. Is that what it's called?
I wanted to
One that
say
you're
like lip smacker, so that's
lip
weird.
smackers. Send us a headbanger lip smacker.
That's one of those. Yes,
Yeah.
agree. And
Send us
if
one that's gonna
you,
stump us.
yeah,
Send us
I would
a
love to
butt
be
stumper.
stumped.
A
A
stumper.
butt stumper. If you need to send it somewhere other than Instagram, if you're blocked from sending us messages on Instagram, I don't know why that is for some people. I'm sorry about it, but we have an email. It's the same as our Instagram at Gmail, not the number four everyone pod at Gmail. So do that. Thanks. Kisses.
Mwah.